2013 is finally over, and after a year of high-profile releases such as the wonderful Nap, it's hard to imagine just how the games industry can be improved any further. But despite all this, I've decided for the sake of Christmas, or something, to once again dig out our patented gaming speculation orb in order to give you my top 5 video game predictions for 2014. Now, please bear in mind that last year I also delivered some predictions for the year ahead, and although some of them were correct, some of them were also just downright wrong. So, let's throw caution to the wind, say goodbye to the year behind, and focus instead on the wonderful world of 2014. Let's get going. Number 5. The Rise of Mindell Player. 2013 gave us a lot of things. New consoles, great games, this die. Peggle 2! But perhaps its greatest gift was the promise and subsequent introduction of the first truly next-gen feature in the form of Mindell Player. Despite the term making me throw up a little into my mouth every time I say it out loud, Mindell Player is the seamless integration of online multiplayer components within a single player campaign, allowing multiple players to mindle with each other without either experience being damaged as a result. It's not a new concept. In fact, Journey, that game company's critically acclaimed PlayStation 3 exclusive released in 2012, is a perfect example of how Mindell Player can enhance a traditionally single-player game by introducing subtle multiplayer elements. In Journey, the player meets other wanderers but never learns their names. For the entire duration of their playthrough, their companions remain nameless, and can only communicate through an arbitrary jump animation. And you know what? This makes for one of the most unique gameplay experiences of the last generation. Subtle multiplayer elements introduced into a primarily single-player campaign made for far more memorable interactions than simply being told to kill 6 other members of the opposite team. So when Ubisoft introduced The Division at this year's E3, this to me signalled the start of a new industry-wide trend. Mindell Player was being brought to the masses in a way that made sense to the everyday console gamer. Ubisoft Massive have created a living, breathing world that allows for small, cooperative experiences to exist seamlessly within a massively multiplayer environment. Bungie's Destiny works in a similar way, with groups of players merging into each other's sessions without a single lobby or loading screen in sight. In my eyes, this is just the start. This year I predict we'll see a plethora of titles announced that boast Mindell Player as their primary selling point. From a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. It's a new concept that can only be achieved with the new generation's increased power, thus making it exciting and, subsequently, profitable for a publisher. In the same way we saw every single game released this generation come packaged with a multiplayer mode, I predict that in 2014 we'll see a lot of releases show off Mindell Player features as a primary selling point. Now I just hope the term Mindell Player doesn't catch on, because I'm already sick of saying it out loud. Number 4. The Xbox strikes back. It was an odd year for Microsoft. Last December I predicted, in one way or another, that Microsoft would get everything right this year, and who could have necessarily blamed me? The Xbox 360 was arguably the consumer's preferred choice when it came to games consoles last generation, and the stage was set for Microsoft to swoop in with their rumoured Xbox 720 and steal the show once again. But they didn't. In fact, they did quite the opposite. 2013 will always be remembered in the gaming community as the year Microsoft decided that it'd be a bit of a laugh to see if they could ruin everything they'd managed to achieve in the past 8 years. After an announcement that was laughably too focused on television and media rather than traditional games, an E3 that was tainted by wildly unpopular policy changes regarding disc ownership and everything that fell out of Don Matrick's mouth.
Fortunately, we have a product for people who aren't able to get some form of connectivity. It's called Xbox 360.
Right. So stick with 360, that's your message if you don't, like it?
If you have...
It looked for a long time that Microsoft had well and truly bowed out of the next generation of video game systems before it had even started, but not before weeing on the proverbial stage beforehand and slipping in it on their way out. It really did seem that bad. But still, among the less naive of us, it was obvious that as soon as Microsoft caught the whiff of defeat, they would do everything in their power to gain the upper hand once again over their major competitors. And would you believe it, they did exactly that. The Xbox One launched with no major differences in its policies compared to the Xbox 360, and you didn't need to have some kind of evil spy robot sitting above your TV in order to play Madden in your underpants. It turns out that Microsoft likes money, and weren't willing to sacrifice it by the truckload in order to stay faithful to a few flimsy policy changes. So, what will 2014 bring for the company? In my opinion, this is the year Microsoft strikes back. The PlayStation 4 is currently the prettiest girl at the next gen prom, and all the boys can't find a single fault with her. Although the Xbox One is still sold incredibly well, it has created for itself an image that will be hard to shake off. The gaming community still treats the Xbone as a bit of an inside joke, and this is something Microsoft will undoubtedly want to change this year. I'd be incredibly surprised if Microsoft don't have some big announcements hidden up their sleeves, primarily high-profile exclusives that will undoubtedly shift the balance back into their favour. If Reddit is anything to go by, and believe me it really isn't, a lot of Microsoft fans went over to the Sony camp early this year, and at least 2 of them decided to stick with that decision as well. Microsoft want to win those people back, and they want to make sure that every gamer realises that they're still a major contender this generation, and perhaps most importantly of all, they want to make sure that they realign themselves back with the core gaming demographic. However, it should be noted that outside of the screaming vocal fanboy-filled minority that is the internet, people normally decide to buy a console like this. Oh hey, new Xbox. Oh cool, I'll play the new FIFA on it. Yeah, I think I'll buy that. So you know, Microsoft don't really need to realign themselves and pull out all the stops, but they will. Number 3. The fate of the Wii U is finally revealed. It's been a bit of an odd year for Nintendo. On the one hand, the 3DS has continued to go from strength to strength, from the successful launch of a new, cheaper, kid-friendly variant of the platform to the release of a string of magnificent first-party titles, some of which are amongst the best games released this year. However, when it comes to the Wii U, things couldn't really have gone any worse. By November 2013, the lifetime sales total for the Wii U within the UK stood at around 150,000 units. The PlayStation 4, on the other hand, managed to sell 250,000 units within its first 24 hours on sale. Let's just think about this for a second. Within its first year on sale, the Wii U has managed to sell 4.3 million units. Meanwhile, the PlayStation 4 has managed to sell half that within its first few weeks on the shelves. The simple fact of the matter is, nobody wants a Wii U. In fact, people are so completely turned off by the idea of Nintendo's most recent offering to the console market that even Super Mario 3D World, arguably one of the best Mario games ever created, and without a doubt the best game on the system, is the worst selling 3D Mario game ever released. In the UK, Super Mario 3D World debuted at number 14, behind everyone's favourite Game of the Year contender, Knack. Now, it's fair to say that nobody wanted Knack. Nobody saw Knack and thought, yeah, I like the look of that. People bought Knack because they just wanted extra padding for their shiny new game spots that currently doesn't have any games. The reason why Super Mario 3D World debuted so low is because no one owns the console, and although it led to a slight increase in Wii U sales, it wasn't enough to make people rush out in their thousands to save a failing system. It just wasn't. It didn't help that Nintendo were also once again confused about their marketing campaign either, advertising it in the same way they used to advertise Wii games.
You can play Super Mario 3D World alone, or you can play it with the whole family.
But that's a different concern up there with the fact that they named it the Wii U, the bloody numpties. So what happens to the Wii U this year? I honestly have no idea. The outlook looks bleak, and with no real system sellers on the horizon, this looks good, don't kill me, but this won't sell systems. I really can't see it existing much longer. Therefore, I predict that one of two decisions will be made internally this year at Nintendo. Iwata will either decide to cut their losses and begin phasing out their filling system altogether, or make the push for a fresh twist that will lead to a boost in sales. Sony did it with the Vita, sort of, and I hope Nintendo does it with the Wii U as well, but frankly the damn thing had only 3 games worth buying for it this year. It really isn't looking good for the Wii U. Still, at least the 3DS continues to dominate the market, selling just under 35 million units worldwide and hosting some of the best games of the year. So yeah, Nintendo aren't dead, they're actually still doing really well. It's just a shame the Wii U is a steaming pile of hush. Number 2. The year of the new IPs. The launch lineup for the new next-gen consoles was about as interesting as a corned beef sandwich, and although both companies bragged that their systems had the best next-gen exclusives, all they were really offering were prettier sequels and uninspiring new IPs. To me, this is just the leftover remnants of the previous generation. The last generation saw sequels such as every single Call of Duty released after Modern Warfare 2 made more money in a day than most small countries made in a year. It's fair to say that big companies don't like to take risks, especially when you have a nice big plump attached cow sitting at the end of your boardroom, ready to be milked to death over the course of a generation. Still, new consoles bring with them a renewed sense of excitement, and not just to the everyday consumer. Developers finally have the opportunity to do bigger and better things than they were able to before, and with every generation comes a plethora of new ideas. Last generation we had a large number of new IPs become established video game franchises, such as Uncharted, Assassin's Creed and Gears of War. Although it may be hard to imagine a time without them, each one was created as an answer to the new hardware capabilities of their host platforms. Assassin's Creed could render large cities filled with crowds, Uncharted could deliver an engaging narrative in a lush jungle environment, and Gears of War could deliver a high-octane action experience within a realistic world. All of these things weren't possible on the generation before. So with this new shiny generation, it made sense that companies will be willing to take more risks for the simple fact that at this point, impressive leaps in tech, graphics and animation are enough to convince people to buy into new game series. In a way, this is already happening, with the announcement of new IPs such as The Division, Watch Dogs, The Order 1866, Sunset Overdrive, Deep Down and many others. From these titles alone, it's clear that this year we'll see more new intellectual properties be announced instead of just straight sequels and reboots. Don't get me wrong, eventually we will see things like Watch Dogs then in yearly installments and gritty reboots of Jak and Daxter, but for now let's just enjoy the fact that for the first time in a long while, the new shall finally outweigh the old. Also, just to sort of slip this bit in at the end, it's obvious that the indie scene will continue to do interesting and unique things that progress the industry forward in unforeseen ways. That's a given. However, with both Sony and Microsoft's encouragement to bring their games to mainstream platforms, who knows what this year will bring for the indie scene. Whatever happens, I know for a fact it's going to be exciting. Number 1. The Steam bots becomes a major player. This year was an exciting year for the games industry. We had not one but 2 releases of next-gen consoles, ushering in a completely new era for the medium in general. We saw incredible games be released across all platforms, from mature, hard-hitting experiences to balls-to-the-wall fun adventures. 2013 was truly a fantastic year for games. However, perhaps one of the most exciting announcements was the unveiling of the SteamOS. The SteamOS, for those who don't know, is an open-source operating system for PCs developed by Valve and built around their incredibly popular digital distribution service, Steam. Although initially coming across as nothing more than a nerdy variant of Linux designed to appeal to no one but hobbyists, the subsequent reveal of a brand new touch-based controller and Valve-approved Steam bots made one thing very, very clear. Valve weren't just releasing these unique tools for poops and diddles, they were posing themselves as contenders for the next-gen crown. And you know what? I think they may just have a shot at claiming it for themselves. Why, you asked? Well, currently a PS4 will set you back around £350 here in the UK. A PC with similar specs would cost you around £380. Once you've loaded this little box up with SteamOS and placed it under your TV, you now have a system just as powerful as Sony's Behemoth, with access to an incredibly large library of cheap games and mods for around the same price. Not only that, but with it being based on a Linux operating system, you also get access to pre-existing PC meta hits such as Minecraft. And I mean proper Minecraft, not watered down console Minecraft. Obviously, I'd be foolish to think that your everyday Johnny consumer would opt to build his own PC with a custom version of Linux over a box with the Xbox logo on it that just works straight away, because that just wouldn't happen. People are oddly loyal to the corporations they know and trust, and PC gaming is still considered to be a bit of a dark art to those who aren't familiar with it. But in the same way that Google commandeered the mobile space by offering their operating system to anyone who wanted to install it on their mobile TV or fridge, Valve are set to spark a revolution within the gaming industry by giving any manufacturer who asks for them the tools to compete in the next-gen console race. SteamOS is open source, meaning that anyone can mod or even hack it into a more usable interface if they so wish to. Also, the Steam controller is completely optional, meaning companies can make their own gamepad if they think the public will take to it more easily than Valve's touch-based variant. Then, 6 months down the line, when PC parts become cheap enough to make the system more powerful than the current gen of consoles for the same price, trust me, that will happen, you bundle your custom PC into a nice little box, pop it into retailers, and lo and behold, you have a new next-gen console on the shelves, more powerful and more capable than the current generation. And if Android devices are anything to go by, if SteamOS proves to be popular, before we know it there will be hundreds of third-party Steam bots available to the consumer, spanning from ones cheaper than current-gen consoles that are just as powerful, to impressive high-end machines that will be twice or even 3 times more capable of what we have now. The price of course will vary, but what will never change will be the unprecedented amount of choice available to a consumer. And perhaps best of all, is that at the centre of all this innovation is Valve, a company with a proven track record of taking risks that ultimately pay off. What we're looking at now is potentially the start of a new console revolution. This could really change everything. No longer will living room gaming experiences be confined to just 2 different boxes. Soon we'll have a choice of thousands, all linked together by a single distributor, each one pushing the boundaries of video games in the same way high-end PC games have been doing for years. This will be a wake-up call for both Sony and Microsoft, prompting them to try new things in order to try and stay relevant. Their machines may not be going anywhere for the next 5 or 6 years, but they will be forced to change and innovate more than they were last gen. To me, this will be 2014's biggest change in the industry, and I can't wait to see how the added competition helps reshape the medium for the better, if of course this even happens. However, with new consoles come new games, and if SteamOS really does take off, wouldn't it be nice to see a certain Mr. Freeman make a return? Yeah, that would be nice. Hey everyone, thanks for watching this little silly video. If you liked it, please leave a comment, share it, any more views are fantastic for this channel. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter, our links are below. On behalf of everyone here at Gaming Nation, I wish you a very happy 2014. See you later.